and Savior Minarchy. No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Not to be a backseat driver, but can you say for sure you got the best monthly payment possible on your auto loan? Could it be that you might have gotten a better deal by shopping the loan at a few places and have a lower car payment? Next time, before you go car shopping, visit Communication Federal Credit Union first. Our auto loan experts will find you a perfect loan and get you the lowest monthly payment we can. Communication Federal, your auto loan experts. Restrictions apply. Federally insured by NCUA.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Well, the midnight headlight find you on a rainy night, speed grade up ahead, slow me down, making no time. I gotta keep rolling. Those are windshield wipers slapping out a tempo, keeping perfect rhythm with the song on the radio. But I gotta keep rolling. Ooh, I'm driving my life away.
Good evening, KLRN. This is Thursday night, which means it's your early introduction to the weekend. This is Disasters in the Making. How's everybody doing? I'm Brad Slager, getting ready to take you down the road, as you just heard, on an epic adventure, so we're told. We are getting ready to guide you through the back alleyways of dark and ugly Hollywood with bad films, but I'm not behind the wheel by myself because I got a co-pilot from ScreenRant.com. It's Paul Young. What's going on, Paul?
What is up, my friend? How are you tonight?
I got my passport updated. I think we got a fuel tank that's filled. We're getting ready to just strike out here. It's summer. It's time for a road trip movie, huh?
Would you consider this to be a road trip movie?
I don't know what else to consider it, to be honest.
They're never really on the road.
No, it's technically not a quote road trip, unquote, but the movie we're talking about really is nothing else. So just to introduce what we do here for the uninitiated and unfamiliar, each episode, Paul and I try to find a horrible offering from Hollywood and have it tie into something going on in the news, going on in theaters, or something in our world. And so when we were kicking it around, Paul made a suggestion.
We usually do Mother's Day because that's this weekend. So happy Mother's Day to all you mothers. We could have done a Samuel L. Jackson film because of all his mother effers, but I don't know if we would have pulled that off.
Didn't want to sully our mothers this weekend, however.
That might have been too meta.
probably suffered enough at our hands through our lifetimes that they don't need us to augment that. So,
I know, and I got 2 of them.
well, there you go. It's you've made 2 people happy by not honoring it on this program is the way this works out. So, kicking things around, Paul had the idea that, well, maybe with all of the talk of tariffs, and especially the way we've angered Canada, and especially the way that automobiles, for some reason, seem to be the most affected by the tariffs that have yet to go into place. We figured we'd look at something car related, and then it just hit me. Damnation Alley. This is a movie that's almost entirely known these days by its road vehicle and nothing else. Because a few people that I've mentioned this to this week that are like, oh, that's that thing with that cool ass car and truck or whatever that is. I go, exactly. You see it? They're like, I think so. I want to say yes. Hardly anybody knew who was in it. It was just one of those movies that everybody that knows about it has one and only one recollection, and that is it's got a badass vehicle, and that's about it.
The Landmaster 1 and 2, even though they only made 1 of them for the film. I think I may have seen this movie like very, very early on in my movie watching career. Like I probably rented it, or it came out on, USA Up All Night way back up in the 90s. But
I can tell you my history with this. I know exactly when I saw it. Not exactly, but I know how. And that is in the early days of HBO. Because when, for some reason, my parents who don't watch movies were among the first people to get cable television, and HBO was the first thing. And we used to get, and this is back in the day, a monthly movie guide from HBO, and it had all the films in it, the premiere dates. It had a poster. It was a very visual thing, and I collected these things because they were just so damn cool. But in the early days of HBO, they would get first run, or I guess technically second run, as they come out of theaters, but they still had to fill their airtime with other stuff. So there was a lot of 70s drive-in quality movies first available on HBO. This would be one of them. And I remember watching it back then. And it was like, oh man, this truck is cool. And in my neophyte cinematic mind, that's all that was needed for a cool movie.
Well, it was designed by Dean Jeffries, so that would make sense. I mean, back in the 60s through most of the 70s and maybe even into the early 80s, he designed a lot of the really recognizables to this day. He did the Black Beauty from Green Hornet. He did the trolley from Who Framed Roger Rabbit and the dune buggies from Diamonds Are Forever. Of course, he also did the the Monkeys Mobile.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, he did the Monkeys Mobile, and he did all 5 cars from Death Race 2000. So you were very familiar with his handiwork.
Yeah, he was. He had a vibrant career, and probably the best guy for this particular construction. Because as we're going to get into here, we are Disasters in the Making. We're really much going to focus on the in the making aspect of this film, because there's not a whole lot else to it. I mean, everybody remembers the truck and not much else, and that's for good reason. This movie's about the truck and not much else.
Mm-mm. And it's an actual vehicle. I think somebody bought it when Gene Winfield, I guess.
Yeah, it's still on the
owner.
I don't know. They have I guess cinematic vehicle tours that go around the country. They have events where the old Batmobile will be there or such, and this is one of those.
Well, it just sold at auction or something for $1.93 million. $1.93 million in 2024.
Well, this
is still moving about. Yeah,
and this is what's amazing. Back when they made the movie, this thing cost like $270,000 to create.
$350K in 1975.
Yeah, and they estimate in today's dollars it's about 1.5 to 2 mil.
That's ridiculous.
And and it's not just for the camera. This thing works. Now, if you've never seen the vehicle before, we put it up on our Twitter page and promote it. This is a truck that's got 12 wheels. It's got 4 hubs on which each hub has 3 wheels in triangle fashion. And those 3 actually rotate as well. So instead
It was
of,
supposed to help it climb rocks.
and he said it
What
did.
They said.
I saw a video just this afternoon. I ran over it, and he was talking about the construction and what they were doing with it. He said this thing had no shocks at all, but he said it would go 50 miles an hour and come across boulders. And because of this rotating wheel construction, they would roll over, and then the truck would cantilever because this thing is sectioned in the center.
It didn't have the steering wheel did not steer the wheels. It steered the midsection of the vehicle.
Yeah, basically, instead of steering, it would just point the vehicle, and that's how it would turn. and this
really
thing
weird.
worked. So he said they'd be out in the middle of the scrublands and find boulders and such and wouldn't slow down. And this thing would just go right over the boulders without a problem. He said if you're inside of it, you wouldn't know the difference. Because
now, the thing I couldn't figure out is the top wheel. So it had 2 wheels on the bottom. So there was always 8 wheels touching and 4 wheels at the top of the pyramid. But the wheels at the top of the pyramid were always spinning. They weren't touching. The wheels weren't touching like a set of gears.
no, they would roll.
And I don't know where it didn't have a rotating axle. So I don't know how he pulled that off where it did it have 6 axles?
No, I think it had probably 4 independent ones, but there were a couple camera angles where we'd be mounted at the rear. And while this is going forward, you saw the activity of the 3 wheels do one of those rotations under power.
It worked. It was unique. I'll give him that. It was super unique.
Yeah, and he said this thing was operational, and after the movie was made, actually, they repurposed this for a number of other things. He said it was in a bunch of commercials and a couple other movies they used it for in a different manner.
Wasn't it a White Snake music video?
It's possible. Yeah, I believe
it was.
So, yeah, this was a ton of effort went into that.
It was a Quiet Riot.
Okay, that makes even a little more sense. I know.
Here, just let me read to you some of the things this giant Landmaster from Damnation Alley showed up in. So it was in an Amico commercial. The Wild and the Young by Quiet Riot was a music video. Highway to Heaven for an episode called Merry Christmas from Grandpa. I need to see that episode to see how they tied this thing into it. Something called Get a Life. Oh, the TV show Get a Life. It was in a time-traveling movie called Apex. It was in the pre-ride video at the Sony Movie Glide Theater for Dino Island.
Okay.
And apparently, you've seen Battle Angel Alita?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right, so the original manga, it was apparently in that at some point. They included it as drawn.
Uh-huh.
That's nuts. How is it? Highway to Heaven is the weirdest part. That's the weirdest one there.
Yeah, that one bears some investigation, I think.
We need Grandpa to get something really interesting for Christmas, but it's going to be a dream. And what we're going to need is, you know what? I saw something in 1975 with George Papard. Give me that. I want the Landmaster in my TV show.
Well, yeah. So basically,
it's about an angel. So we're going to need it to be the Landmaster, obviously.
Yeah, this vehicle is pretty much the biggest star of the film. Let's just put it that way. Not that it was lacking for stars, just that nobody else remembered anyone else in this. So one of the things I love about Hollywood is just how they get so much wrong and manage to somehow come out ahead anyway. So this was actually based on a novella that was written back in 1969 by the name of Damnation Alley. So 20th Century Fox optioned the rights to it, And from that point forward, 20th Century Fox did every single thing possible to screw this movie up.
And they tried to put it up. Did they have they had this in Star Wars to market and promote, and they put all their money into this.
Yeah, they actually thought they both came out in 77, and Fox was thinking Damnation Alley was going to be their big movie of the year against the other release, which is Star Wars. You heard me correct. They thought this was going to be bigger.
Well, and the best part was the original author from this thought that the original script was fantastic because it closely followed. But then somebody said, "Hey, we need more special effects," so they dumped more money into it and pushed the release time back. And all the special effects they added were just like making the sky glow.
Yeah,
like that's like
kind of like garbage
it.
sky effects. There was one time I noticed this was probably almost in the third act. They kept trying to portray it that the sky was constantly filled with the aurora borealis because this is the after effect of World War III, and you're just seeing in the sky these lines that are waving. And I looked at that for a good second or two before I realized that was actually video of surf at the beach, like little trickling waves that came. But they were supposed to be radioactive clouds.
You know how they formed the color? They took a laser and shined it against various objects and materials, and then filmed that, and then keyed it in on a blue screen later. I'm like, that's what you wasted all your extra money on? That doesn't make any sense. And the best part is that there was an original director for this movie, and he dropped out because he said it's impossible to film the special effects. What were the original special effects written in for this film that they couldn't do that Star Wars managed to pull off? Because I want to see those special effects.
Yes. This is also where it goes screwy. In post-production, there were going to be a lot of scenes that were effects laden, and they needed to finish the movie. And the studio was pulling money from them to give it to the Star Wars people, all while operating that this movie was going to be their big moneymaker. This is what I'm saying, is when they do everything incorrectly and still come out ahead somehow. This is the magic of Hollywood.
Well, I mean, and like you said, it's got some named actors in it. I mean, Jan Michael Vincent, old Stringfellow Hawk from Airwolf, though he didn't really make his name until the 80s. Then you got George Papard, who was obviously had been, a staple in the industry for a few decades. Paul Winfield, the late Paul Winfield, and a very young Jackie Earle Haley.
Yeah, I think this was his second movie after Bad News Bears.
Yeah, and so you got him, and then you add on the director. You got Jack Smite in there. I don't know if you've ever watched the airport movies, not the airplane movies, but the airport movies.
Right.
I think there was Airport, then there was Airport 1975 and 1977. It was like a trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And
then 79, I think, was the Concorde.
Yeah, and then he did Midway. I don't know if you ever watched Midway. Two very good movies. So there's enough talent behind this thing to have made it decent, but my goodness gracious, there's nothing on screen to watch. Not much.
And this is where the studio started screwing with things. Right from the start, they were renaming it. So they got away from Damnation Alley, the book, gave it another title. Then they changed that title. And then they decided, you know what, let's go with Damnation Alley after all. So they did that. And then they bagged the original script. So you go back to the source material for the title and then wash that entire script away that the original author loved to go with another script. And then the movie, I don't know, the rough cut, the initial cut was about 2 hours or so.
A little over 2 hours, yeah.
And then the director got occupied with other projects because the studio kept having delays. And then we got to fix this. We got to go here, do that. We got to take the money away from your special effects. So the director had to go away and do some other work. So the studio just said, you know what, we're going to recut this all the way down to 90 minutes.
It took 44 minutes of footage out of this thing.
There's like complete characters excised from the film, and they said that it was because of time. I'm laughing about this because, as I will get into it very quickly with Paul here, they had a lot of room for stuff in this movie because there just is not much there. And what is there, a lot of it is disjointed and doesn't make sense. But it's okay. We got a badass truck to ride in and it looks cool. So whatever.
It honestly felt like a early 2000s asylum movie where they pad it with just a bunch of B footage and just the camera not moving on somebody as they react to something else that the viewer can't see. But there's several scenes where Tanner and Janice, Jan Michael Vincent and Dominique Sandra, they're like reacting to something in front of them, but we never see what they're reacting to, and the camera just lingers on them like a scene from Family Guy, just like far too long to the point of uncomfortableness. And you're like, what are they doing? He's touching his face. He's grimacing and shaking his head. What are you looking at? I don't know what you're looking at. What are you reacting to?
So yeah, they cut a lot of crucial and vital things out of the film. And here's the storyline. We got a group of people that work at a missile facility in California. While they're there, World War III breaks out. The entire country, for the most part, is laid to waste with the exception of Albany, New York. You heard me correct. That's what I just said.
Makes sense.
So they hit upon the idea that, well, the country's a wasteland. We need to drive through it. And they do.
They set up, so this is where they're cutting all that footage. Doesn't make sense because it changes the story they had already filmed. So there's supposed to be this animosity between Tanner and Denton, George Papard's character, and Jan Michael Vincent. There's supposed to be all this animosity to the point as they're going down the elevator to go get into place to monitor the missile silos. He's like, tomorrow I'm asking for a transfer or have you replaced. I just don't feel like we're a good team. We don't work well together. Then they work well together. They're like the whole rest of the film. And there's another part in the film
exactly anger going on.
No,
you don't
no
get
anger.
bitterness. You don't get any of that. It's every so often George Papard gets annoyed. Maybe.
And this was cut. There was some stuff that happens where there's a breakdown in the military command after the missiles go off. That's cut from the movie. There's a scene where Paul Winfield's character gets eaten alive by mutant cockroaches. That's right, eaten alive by mutant cockroaches. He confronts him, and they have like a physical confrontation because he blames Papard for his friend's death. There was this love triangle between him, the woman they found living by herself in Vegas, and Janice and Tanner, and they have a confrontation about that constantly. Like there's all this animosity that's supposed to be built up and talked about throughout the script, and they cut all of it out. So and now their relationship doesn't make any sense, like at all.
Yeah, and the thing is this. I want to know what they cut out because what they left in is not much. So this begins with the two men going into a facility. They have to show their badges and ID and get verified. They do this 5 times. Okay, go on ahead. Go through this room. And they go in a room and they have to show their ID again. And the guy that show the ID is like, okay, go in the elevator. Goes in the elevator, the next stop, show your ID. They do this over and over. It's like one time would have done it, guys. Could have saved 5 minutes of film and put some good stuff in. No. So then they finally get into the realm where they do their job, which is managing missile silos remotely. And they don't really establish with any sense of drama that World War III is broken out. We just kind of watch them go through the motions of launching missiles without realizing the gravity of it all. It's like, you got silo 12 on 3, 1, 2. Okay, done. Good job. We did that. Hey, we're going to hit this now. We don't get any sense that, holy crap, the world's about to end.
It's just, it's two people control the fate of the world.
It's basically them flipping switches, turning keys, looking at each other and timing things out. It's, okay, my turn.
And it's supposed to be the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union is supposed to be attacking us. That's what, all through the Cold War, through the 70s and 80s, that was the fear that they played on. And so, but the missiles are coming from Canada.
Yeah, we see this on screen, and they kind of show. Basically, we just see lit up lines on a map, and they're descending down from Canada, which is probably more pertinent today than it was in 77. But yeah, that was the impression. It wasn't animated colored arcs coming from Moscow or Siberia. Basically, we got attacked by Ontario and Edmonton, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
So I don't
Way
know.
to go, Canada.
Canada hooked up with Yeltsin or something back in the day. What the hell's going on here? Or probably Brezhnev back then.
They got tariffed.
Yeah, it's like, you're going to sit there and charge us for milk? Bomb the crap out of you.
And everything is super cold. You can tell they didn't put any budget into the production version of creating the room that they're in. It's all just a bunch of old flashing lights, and the budget for this movie was ridiculously low when it came to doing like actual special effects, which is weird. Like there's a scene, I don't know if you noticed this, but inside the Landmaster, Papard leans over and types in like he doesn't know how to steer it. And so he's like, okay, the Landmaster will take it there by Copilot. And he types it into a Texas Instrument calculator. It's just a Texas Instruments. Yeah, it's just a calculator. He just, instead of hitting enter, he just types in 1314206 or something. Like you can see the commas coming into it when he's typing it in. I'm just like, wouldn't it have been easier to just not film that portion of it? Just, we can hear him type in numbers. We don't need to see the numbers put up onto the screen.
Yeah, it's really odd what they decided to keep and what they decided to trash.
Yeah,
really is. So
they keep Jan Vincent. They keep him getting coffee off of a stove, but not actually anything happening on the other room where the missiles are being launched and who's launching them.
No, and then I guess global destruction wasn't enough for us. We have to have very localized as well. At one point, a stack of Playboy magazines have been procured and given to an individual working in the facility. And we get a scene of him in his bunk. He's got a centerfold taped above him on the bed's bottom. Stack of these magazines behind him as he's smoking in bed, falls asleep. Cigarette drops on top of Miss October. And I'm still trying to piece this together.
And then the whole place explodes.
We see the magazine smolder and then flame on the magazine. And then we cut to an exterior shot where the entire building just explodes. Michael Vincent and Papard and another buddy of theirs barely make it out.
Now, you can't overlook how he got those magazines to begin with. It said, there's no timeline given, right? They don't start about the timeline afterwards.
Yeah,
later you hear Papard talk about it's like 2 years later. It's been 2 years since the bombs went off and that kind of stuff. But you would think that it had just happened and then everybody's just kind of hanging out. You got Paul Winfield painting a mural on the side of one of the bomb doors, like to get you down to the bottom. And Tanner comes riding on his motorcycle that's a real woman on that motorcycle at the beginning. There's no way that's a fake woman. And he's in the desert dodging giant scorpions.
Mm-hmm.
Now they were originally going to film these scorpions. Now these scorpions are real scorpions, and all they did was superimpose them onto the desert, and then they try to make it real by him like kicking at him and stuff. It's really
the motorcycle around.
It's really lazy 80s special effects done in the 70s. And this is around the same time or after they did Clash of the Titans, when they did, full on stop animation that looks amazing.
Yeah, this definitely had a feel of those nuclear monster movies from the 50s.
Yes, it was terrible.
There was like no shortage of them, the giant iguana and things like that.
But we did
Ants.
one. We covered one of the movies, Night of the Lupine, or no, or the Night of the Rabbit.
Lupus.
Night of the Lepus. Night of the Lepus. We covered that a few years ago. It has that same feel, except just worse for some reason because it's not in black and white. And here's the weird part. They didn't need to do it like that. They originally had animatronic scorpions that they were filming. And they said it didn't look realistic enough. I feel like maybe their standards are not where they need their standards to be.
Yeah, that was the part that threw me. It's like, wait, you built the scorpions. Why not go with them? That didn't look real enough. So let's shoot a real one and put it on screen and enlarge it.
The scene with the Madagascar man-eating cockroaches. At some point, they just had a mat covered in fake insects, and we're just pulling it with a wire across the floor to make it look like they were moving in packs.
Yeah, they never really established that the roaches were large or anything, just that there was a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
So the scorpions got big, but the roaches just multiplied, I guess, like rabbits.
But only the scorpions? And there was 2 scorpions at the beginning, and then it took him 3 or 4 minutes to get through the desert, and he's dodging 17 or 18 scorpions. I'm like, where'd these all come from?
And now we're talking about this when he's riding his motorcycle through the scorpions, quote unquote. At one point, he goes down and pushes the woman off and gets back.
And it's a real woman, is it not? That's a real woman.
My question. I don't know. Because
it's an actual actress on the back of his motorcycle.
Because when the scorpion goes in for the actress, it is clearly a dummy. Like, it is blatantly a dummy. Like the hair falls off. It looks like a crash test dummy. And he cuts through and he gets free while they attack the dummy. And Paul Winfield says to him something that didn't sound like, oh, damn, man, that was cold. You got that girl left out there. He was just like, oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah, because he says...
that's why I thought he had a dummy on the back of the motorcycle to distract the scorpions and get away.
But it was a dummy at the end. But
right, and that's what I'm saying.
Paul Winfield was losing his mind to the heat of the desert or something, but then they never established him losing his mind to the heat of the desert ever again. It's never addressed.
Yeah, so I don't.
What happened there?
Yeah, either they went cheap on the girl, or they had a girl right initially, even though it was supposed to be a dummy all along. You really don't know, and honestly, I don't think it affects things either way because it's stupid, whichever result you go with.
Now, I don't know if you know about this portion of the story, but at some point during the filming, Jan Michael Vincent became drunk and got befriended by some local Native Americans who gave him a bunch of peyote. And then there was a 3-day delay in filming because he became intoxicated and couldn't be found, right? I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, he was off having his desert vision or something like that.
I feel like maybe he was on the peyote during this movie as well.
Or the screenwriter.
The viewers. Maybe the peyote would have helped us understand a slightly more. Maybe Winfield was on cactus peyote, nuclear peyote, that was helped him see what he thought was a woman turned into a mannequin. But why is he coming back with a mannequin? That's what he's got, a stack full of Playboys and a mannequin. I don't like where this is going.
Yeah, it's sounds like a bad bachelor party setup here.
Yeah, and it's never addressed again. He went out for supplies. Is that what we're supposed to think? Is that the military has sent him out for supplies, and the best one guy, and the best they can come back with is a stack of Playboys and a mannequin?
Maybe. it's
either he wasn't looking, or that he didn't know what to go looking for.
Yeah, a lot of it's unclear, and more importantly, doesn't really apply to the rest of the film anyway. So
there's very little in this movie that applies to anything else in this movie. There's no callbacks. There's
the setup and the motivation really isn't there. So the Playboys lead to the building exploding, and the survivors team together. What are we going to do? Well, there's one building that didn't blow up, and we
The
see
barn, motor barn or whatever.
yeah, motor pool, if you want to call it that, and a very large door slowly starts opening in dramatic fashion. I wonder if this is going to be the Landmaster scene, Paul. Guess what? It was the Landmaster scene.
Landmaster scene.
I mean, they make this dramatic entrance for the vehicle that was on the poster. We're just waiting for it. So here it comes, and there's two of them. Hey, how about that? Awesome.
Except they only built one.
Yeah, and well, there's a problem here too. So we've got Papard and Jan Michael Vincent in one. Winfield and their other buddy is in the second one. And they're now what these Landmasters are for, I'm unclear of, especially given that everybody here is supposedly from the Air Force. So naturally, they constructed $1 million vehicles in the desert. For what reason? But they just decide, well, we got them. We may as well use them. Let's go on a road trip. George Papard keeps hearing this radio transmission. It's automatic. It's a radio one. It just every so often it comes out and makes announcements. If anybody's out there, we're in Albany. So he's convinced Albany is some kind of sanctuary.
But he has nothing to go on, right?
Nothing.
He just thinks it is.
It's an automatic, like I said, it's just it's a repeated 30-second transmission, which would sound to me like somebody flipped a switch and then everybody died. But he's convinced this is Eden in the dystopian aftermath of World War III. So they're going to drive from California to Albany. Okay. I'm not sure why, but they do. And all kinds of, well, no, not all kinds. A couple of adventures take place.
I guess.
I mean, they traverse the entire countryside. I did not see this vehicle stop once for fuel.
Every time they did stop for fuel, the fuel was empty. Or they had to. This thing gets good gas mileage.
I was going to say, this thing's huge. It's got to chew up the gallons, is all I'm saying. And damn if it doesn't take them all the way. So, so they hit the road or roadside technically, because there's really not a lot of asphalt to be found out here. It is all wasteland. Thank God they've got the Landmasters.
And I don't understand why they have two. If you've got a limited supply of fuel, wouldn't you want to build one and then store all the fuel from the second one in the first one so that you could have extra fuel?
Well, now, Paul, there you go, making sense again.
And this thing has water in it. We never see them stop to eat, but they've always got some sort of MRE with them. And
yeah, they always talk about having supplies.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, we can take a shower. All three of us can take a shower once a week. What? Where's all this water coming from? You were in a desert.
But and the name of the movie too cracks me up, because the rationale is this: that in order for them to get to Albany, the pathway to cross the country, there's one particular way to get through the radiation wasteland, and that is called Damnation Alley. One, I have no idea how George Papard knows about this, because two, there was no such thing until World War III broke out. So he's making it sound like this is a well-established Route 66 through radiation that'll get you there safely. It's like, how do you know this? It just happened. But somehow they know it, and they have the coordinates to punch into the adding machine in the dashboard of this truck. Sorry, Landmaster.
So where do they start? They start somewhere in California, obviously.
It was Carlsbad,
Barstow, right?
Somewhere, Carlsbad near the Mojave Desert, they said. So yeah, they're basically corner to corner across the country. They're making the big trip. but apparently Damnation Alley has either formed or been established after the nuclear fallout.
So they're in the Mojave Desert.
And then as they embark, a storm breaks out and starts affecting the vehicles. The second landmaster crashes and rolls over, and it kills the one guy, Perry. And as they go back to try to rescue him, I think this is along Salt Lake City, is what they said. And this is when they try to rescue the rest of them, and the killer cockroaches showed up.
I can't even I'm on Google Maps right now, and I'm starting in the Mojave Desert, which is in the southern eastern part of California. And I've got a path drawn to Albany. And Google wants to take you through Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. Salt Lake City is a straight line up from the Mojave just about to get up to Salt Lake City, Utah. That is, I can't even make it go that way on purpose. There's no way they took this route. That's 2,600 miles as the crow flies.
Okay, but Paul, you're not factoring in a desiccated, radiation poisoned wasteland.
I suppose, but like you're in the military, right? You've got access to maps. I can't. If you're going to go to Albany, why wouldn't you take the shortest path possible? Why would you go up to Salt Lake City and then cut through the Nebraskas? And
I got one better
at some point.
I got one better for you. The attack takes place with the roaches in Salt Lake City. The next stop for them is Las Vegas, which is south of where they are and just next door to where they were in California.
No. Vegas was first. They go up towards Vegas first because that's where they pick up Janice. She's at Circus.
Yeah, but I thought they got the girl after the roach attack.
No, she's riding on the bike on the back of him at George's. Or
okay.
She's riding with the dude on the back of the motorcycle, and they jump.
I got radiation amnesia going on then, so forgive me. I apologize.
Now, I will say going towards Vegas does take them up towards Salt Lake City, and I guess they really wanted to film a scene in Circus. Except that didn't look like anything like the inside of Circus.
No, it looked like the entire Vegas Strip was blasted into sand, and there was like 5 buildings remaining, I think.
And she's the only person living by herself for 2 years.
Yeah, so this stop in Vegas was really
Circus was the best she could do.
But they just randomly stopped there, and it wasn't, I'm thinking to get supplies, get food, get all the needs. No, they start playing with the slot machines.
And they were the nickel slots. They weren't even like the dollar slots or the quarters. They were playing nickel slots the whole time.
Yeah, and they're winning. And so they keep feeding the machines, and they're putting the hat there, and they're getting the buckets of. It's like I thought we were on the verge of death, but we got time for this, huh? We can be slot jockeys for an afternoon. Okay.
And like George Papard is like indignant about the whole situation. And he doesn't want to partake because he's too, he's in his Air Force gear the whole time. Like he never changed his clothes. He's in his Air Force gear the whole time. So he's too uppity to play slots.
Until he does.
Where's the electricity coming from?
He caught the bug, and then he was right in the middle of it. Well, there's a lot of those kind of questions, aren't there? Like, how is this working? How is this operational? How do you have that? And you can't ask these questions during this movie. You're just not allowed to. It will impact your viewing and enjoyment if that's possible. So we were, so they pick up the girl. She comes out and she hugs everybody, but then doesn't want to hug Jan Michael Vincent. What was that all about?
She had a cigarette in her hand. She couldn't be bothered to drop the cigarette. And when she ran down to hug everybody, he's like, "Hey, baby, pass it on or keep it going," or he said something stupid, right?
Well, she's like, "Oh my gosh, people are alive!" And she gives a bear hug to George Papard, and then she goes over and hugs everybody else. And when she comes up to him, she's like, "Oh, and hi." And he's like, "Hey, what about me?" And she's like, "Nah." Like, do we have a history here? This is where I get the feeling something was left on the cutting room floor. Either she would do that, and then he would look at Papard and go, "Oh, you son of a bitch, you did it again," or nothing. It's just like I got 3 hugs. I'm good. That's all I had in me.
Yeah, I don't need to hug anybody else.
Okay. Yeah, the young hot guy is the one you don't want to hug. Got it. So the part that I don't understand as far as the drama or interest in this whole enterprise is we see the second landmaster go asunder and boom, it's useless. The rest of the movie, they sell this thing as an indestructible, indefatigable machine. Whatever you throw at it, it's going to deal with. It's like, well, no, we saw one just go ass over teacups and it's no good anymore. You got to pick something here. I mean, it would have made sense maybe if like there was an earthquake and it fell off a cliff or something, but no, the thing just rolled over. One guy died, and then it was like, well, crap, that thing's done.
And how much storage space is in this thing? They keep that motorcycle in the back of it like an RV the whole time, but then they're also the walls are solid. When you look at the inside of the Landmaster from the outside, the walls are solid. There's no, but they're sleeping in there somewhere. Where are they sleeping?
Yeah, there's sleeping quarters. There's a shower. Clearly, there's a ton of storage for food for weeks on end.
Not to mention,
the back of it drops down for the motorcycle to drive.
Bro, it's got rockets and mortars. It's got rockets on top and mortars in it. They're storing live munitions inside this thing like it's an actual tank.
Yeah, it's I mean, I would say roughly this thing is what, 30, 35 feet in length, maybe 40 at best, but it's got the storage capacity that's 3 times the size.
35 feet long.
Okay,
and 12 feet high.
But yeah, it's got water for a 5-month trip. Store all the food and everything else that you need. No problem. Fuel? Yeah, we got a filled tank. That's going to take us to the other coast and back. No problem. This is what we're dealing with. So, and yeah, this is basically the rest of the movie. They just make random stops here and there, and they meet random people, and then they go to the next random stop.
And and occasionally they'll pick up Jackie Earl Haley's kid, Billy. His name is Billy. And they pick him up, and he's just kind of by himself as an orphan, teenage orphan.
Yeah, all right, so we pick the gal up in Vegas. We then go to Salt Lake City, lose the second truck, and encounter roaches and such. Lose half our friends. We're not going to react, though. We're not going to be sad or affected by this. We got things to do. Like, I know they're driving down the road and they just see this kid's head pop up in a window of a dilapidated shack. So they stop. And, the kid runs away. There's this extended chase scene through the scrub brush of them chasing the kid down. It's like, why? What? Like, they're desperate to catch this kid that doesn't want to be.
And they're in the diamond crater. Isn't that what it's called?
It's the it's the big meteor crater out there in the west. That's where they filmed a lot of this, and it's really just that. It's scrub landscape, and let's watch this massive truck tear ass through it all, which is kind of cool. I'll give you that. It's not bad. So they pick the kid up. They basically pin him down. They bring him back to the house and say, okay, you can either come with us or we can give you supplies. What? How much? You just got all kinds of supplies then, I guess. Okay, we have extra. And the kid's like, all right, I'll go. But he makes here's the bargain with him. He's like, I'll go on one condition. You got to let me drive.
Yeah, or teach me how to ride your motorcycle.
It's like, you're not really negotiating from the point of strength. We're saving your life.
I don't know. He was pretty.
You're not in any position to strong arm us.
Little David was pretty good with a rock. He could sling a rock pretty. I mean, he was pretty deadly accurate with that. Right? He hit Jan Michael Vincent in the chest twice from like across. He would have made a good TikTok star, just doing random stuff with a rock.
Yeah. Later, he clocks a guy at like 30 feet right in the melon.
Like dude, perfect.
I mean, they make it seem like he was out in the scrub for like years and just became, I don't know, a mountain kid or something. He told some story about his dad. He fell off a ravine and broke both his legs and died in his arms. And I guess we're supposed to get weepy about this. But then he's like, all right, I'll go, but you got to teach me how to drive. And they all knuckle under like, okay, deal. What do you... You're in the military. He's 12. Shut up. But okay, yeah, you can drive our truck, even though we watched one just roll over when experts were behind the wheel. I don't think this is a smart idea, but then again, I've never been out in desolate post-apocalyptic landscape myself, so who am I to judge?
And what did they do with adding Billy to the story? Right? So anytime you pick up a character on a road trip, you generally add that character into the story in a meaningful way so that they add another colorful layer to what's currently happening. Other than that, they're literally just dead weight that you're dragging along, and now the audience has to like keep up with him for no reason. Well, that's what they did with this one. They didn't know what to do with Billy. They pick him up, they put him in with this thing. It could have been a decent dynamic between him and Janice and Tanner, starting a family unit of some, an after nuclear family unit. But instead, there's like a 2 or 3 minute scene of George Peppard driving and shaving with an electric shaver, wireless electric shaver, by the way. I'm not even sure how he charged it in 1975. And Billy just watching him. He's just sitting there watching him use an electric shaver while he's driving the Landmaster. I'm like, who's this scene for? What did you cut out of this movie that made you leave this in?
I mean, it felt like we were going to get like a teachable moment there. It's like, why are you shaving? How come you have to? What is this? Like let this become a mentoring scene. The gruffy old man can teach. Well, let me tell you something, Billy. When you get to be my age,
you could humanize Billy.
That's it.
Before my dad died, he was going to teach me how to shave, but we never got the chance. Humanize him. You know what I mean? Like bring some emotion into it, but they didn't do that at all.
No, it was just, and he's silently shaving and Billy's watching him. This is about 2 minutes of screen time where they had no room for actual characters and had to cut plot out. So we can have a 10-minute credential scene to open the movie. We can have a protracted missile launch sequence fiasco in which they had to go with stock footage because, again, they cut the special effects out of the budget. So, let's go to military stock footage. ICBM's leaving, and now we're shaving on the road for... I wonder if this was like a Norelco product placement or something.
I mean, George Peppard has a star on the Walk of Fame. And at no point did he say, like, I'm going to question this entire scene. I'm just going to ask you why we're doing what we're doing here. It's you want me to shave?
I'm almost convinced
you want him to watch. Do I have this right?
There had to have been more cut out of here. This is where I'm leaning. Is that something significant, or at least I don't know, compelling took place here, and then it just poof went away.
And
we ain't got time for that.
Nobody's hair gets any longer.
Of course not. Of course. Now, I'm drawing a blank here. What was the building they went to where they were at the facility? They're on the roof with the motorcycle and all the cockroaches.
That was they went looking for supplies, and when they showed up at that city, he noticed that the cars were all the car doors were closed, and there were human bones inside, picked completely clean.
Right, but where were they at that point on the map? I lost track of where we were.
Oh gosh,
it's got to be past Salt Lake City.
Yeah, that part I'm not entirely sure.
It was a metropolis of some sort. I mean, because there was, the scene at the 5-story parking garage and all of that. So they're basically
that is
Jan Michael Vincent.
killer cockroaches
was.
are in Salt Lake City.
Okay. So they were, so it was after the death, and now they're trying to reconfigure and such. Jan Michael Vincent is up on the roof in one building. They encounter the cockroaches. He gets on the radio and says, well, we got to get out of here. So he rips a door off, props it up by a window, makes a motorcycle jump off of this make-to ramp.
And jumps from the department store onto the roof of a parking garage.
And the two of them go down. And I don't know if that was Jan Michael Vincent or stunt.
No, he did most of his own stunts in this thing.
But was that the actress too?
The actress, I'm not sure about, but it could have been the actress from the first part of the film that he knocked off the motorcycle, the Dudley.
Yes. Scorpion food. Yeah, right. But yeah, I mean, he legitimately goes down. They lay the bike down and slide, but they get right back up. I mean, props to him. That was cool. Uncut scene. So he wipes out and then gets back on and goes down the ramps. Meets up with the landmaster in a parking garage. We got to get out of here. And there's roaches everywhere. Some of them even coating the ramp. But time for a real badass scene here where they blast a wall. The landmaster breaks through the cement. This basically was for the 10-year-old me in the audience watching. It's like, damn, that was so cool.
And he's got cool. And man-eating cockroaches all over his legs.
Mm-hmm. But he's tough enough to get through it. He can withstand.
In Florida, we call them palmetto bugs.
Yes. We also give them names. Oh, that's Dave over there. Yeah, just let him swat him. He'll go away. It's fun to watch the tourists and family members freak out, though. Oh, my God, they fly. Well, of course they do. Like, never saw roach fly.
They're big. In Florida, they're big enough to shoot.
Some of them have a license plate. So we're, this literally is our movie now. We're just driving. And a lot of scenes on the road, a lot of scenes in the wasteland, kicking up a big cloud of dust as it's cutting through the rocks and everything else. A lot of, drama. And then in the middle of nowhere, and it is literally, it's like barren landscape, and then there's a gas station.
Supposedly they're somewhere in the Midwest. That's all it says. It's just in the Midwest. They don't even label it.
But even George Papard is commenting about the ludicrous nature of this place. Like, this is literally in the middle of nowhere. It's like, well, I'm glad you noticed, because the audience is just saying, what in the living hell is this building doing out there? Why is there a gas station hundreds of miles away from anything? Like, this isn't current day where there's an app and tells people, go down this road 20 miles and you'll find a gas station. No. This would have been fold-out map era, and I doubt a mom-and-pop diner and gas station would show up on any map. But apparently, it does. So they get there. They look around. George Papard says, well, they got to have a generator. Finds a generator, and Jan Michael Vincent's like, hey, you're going to get that thing to run? He's like, no. So, what was the significance of this? He was just dead set on there being one, and then basically said, I knew it wouldn't work. But while they're out there, the boy and the girl go inside the diner, not to look for food, not to use the bathroom, get water. I don't know, anything to survive.
He gets a sucker out of a jar, and she plays the piano.
Gotta play a piano, because this is what you do in the middle of a desolate, nuclear, barren wasteland. Hey, they got a piano.
A highly out of tune piano.
And so, Paul, it's post-apocalyptic.
They could have tuned it.
You got to allow for certain musical, impactful results as World War III.
Well, the place was called Ellen's Cafe. And apparently Ellen had a band, like a house band.
It would seem. And again, for who? Because when I say the middle of nowhere, like it's a speck on the horizon when they first noticed this thing, and there was no mountains, trees, nothing. It is scrub for hundreds of miles around. Yet they get into the diner. Every single table has empty bottles and plates on it. Like this was, I don't know, the hot spot of Western South Dakota or something. What is going on here? But she plays the piano, he gets a sucker, and the music brings out, I don't know, The Hills Have Eyes cast
Yeah.
of 4 or 5 long-haired, bearded hillbillies, all with weapons, start hell, fire, that's some music. What's going on? And they come out, rifles, she screams, everybody runs inside. I'm trying to piece together exactly what's going on here because it seems like they said, wouldn't it be great if, and never got around to why it would be great. So they encounter them. These guys are clearly unfriendly. And they make a decision that 2 of the guys are going to take Jan Michael Vincent and Papard to go look at the truck, that purdy truck out there. So they go and
you're going to show us how it's used, and then we're going to leave this other guy back here to watch the other 2.
And then the main guy takes the shining to the woman, tells Jackie Earl Haley something. He's like, I'm going to have some fun time with your mother. Go stand over there by her. He's like, she ain't my ma, you ain't my pa. You can't tell me what to do. And he jumps out the window. I'm thinking this is exactly the scenario this guy wanted. He wanted to force himself on the woman.
In a different way, I guess.
Well, clearly he was going to assault the girl. Now he's all by themselves. Ain't got no audience, ain't got no boy to worry about. But no, he says, you go tell that boy right now to get back here. Why? You wanted this. But huh? But she just says, Billy, you get back here now. Street lights are on or something. I don't know what. It was as half-hearted as could be. Had no effect. So he starts having his way with her. She screams. And this is where Rock Boy takes over. He gets a rock, comes back inside, and
chunks it.
Well, he's got it behind his back, and he's looking at the guy saying, "Now, I want another sucker, mister." And the guy should just say, well, then go get one. Get out of my face. I'm done. What? This is stretched out for a bit, and then he's like, okay, here, and then from across the diner, he clocks this guy right in the melon, takes him out, and then back in the truck, the kid shows up and he says, he told me to come out with you guys. Then one of the bad guys says, there's not something right about this, and goes in, and then Jan Michael Vincent gets a gun and shoots them. Basically, they get the upper hand and wipe these guys out. Why is my question. Like, that was it. There was no resolution like, okay, finally we can get gas. Finally,
they didn't even try to get gas.
They
blew the place up instead of dealing with the guys. And I think everybody was dead, right?
Well, they were either inside or shot up and stuff. The main guy was knocked out from the rock. So they don't go back and work on the generator to get the pumps operational or anything else. They just turn the truck and fire and blow the building up. Oh, well, okay. I'm kind of straining here. It's like, why did we go through all of this to have it amount to nothing? It was more screen time getting burned for this movie where they didn't have room for vital plot points. It's just constant. I love these decisions, though. We have to cut out this character. We got to get rid of this entire love triangle aspect. All these other scenes have to go, so we can have an abandoned gas station fight scene and blow it up. Okay. So now we are back on not the road technically, but traveling along, and the Landmaster starts having mechanical issues. Good thing they're close to Detroit.
Where were they find the parts necessary in Detroit?
This is the Motor City is what we call Detroit. I mean, factories, production facilities, everything mechanical from an automobile perspective is found in Detroit. Of course, we go to a junkyard for this state-of-the-art, high-tech military machine. The decisions here I'm baffled by them. Like, why wouldn't you go to a factory where everything is brand new, for one thing, and quite probably more fitting than, I don't know, something from a 1955 Javelin or whatever the heck you're looking for?
Well, I mean, you know how many trucks are on the road? You telling me they couldn't find any other trucks? It's because that's why they built it the way they did. They couldn't find any other trucks anywhere else. It had to be a junkyard.
Yeah, but we've already seen when they were in the cities that they perfectly operational vehicles just had skeletons in them. Well, you're going under the hood anyway, so you don't have to mess with the interior. But no,
how do they even know where a junkyard was?
I'm at a loss. It's where the needed parts were for this state-of-the-art military vehicle, I guess.
I would feel like the military guys would know where the military bases are, and that they could go, because they probably grabbed Cummins engine parts and stuff like that to put this thing together back in the day. So, I mean, it's got a Ford motor in it. So why not go to the military base where you got the original parts to build this thing and get new parts for it?
Exactly. There should be, some familiarity, at least where a motor pool at a base would be at, so you can get these things. It's like junkyard should be fifth on the list.
But you know what? Then they wouldn't have been able to spend their budget on glowing skies that you only see at the beginning of the film.
Yeah, the entire time we're in the junkyard, the first thing they do is split up, because that's, of course, what you're going to do. So, like Jan Michael Vincent tells the kid, be careful of all the animals in here. And he lists off all these vehicles that are named after animals. I see what you did there. JMV, way to go. And George Papard finds the vehicle that has, I guess, the drivetrain they're looking for. So he starts working on it. While they're doing all this, every single camera angle now is like a Dutch angle. It's on the ground up, so we could see the swirling sky of red and green and everything else. And occasionally we cut to an overhead map so we can see the radiation bands, I guess, coming down across the United States. And I guess they detoured off of Damnation Alley, which was supposed to cut through all this, but again, it was a mechanical emergency. I'll give him that. So George Papard is working on this under a vehicle, and a storm starts building up.
He's using a blowtorch too, by the way, a cutting torch.
Of course. Well, I mean,
I'm not a licensed mechanic, but I've done some work under my, I've thrown a wrench or two. I've never had to use a cutting torch to remove the transmission.
Yeah, but you've never had a Landmaster.
That's true. That is touche.
Totally different animal. Your wrenches are useless here with this one, Paul.
Yeah, I don't have auto cannons on the side of my truck.
You need an acetylene torch to remove anything of mechanical value. But as they're out there and they're getting this done, The storm comes up. Jan Michael Vincent starts panicking. He gathers the kid, and then he goes to Papard and said, "There's a storm coming." There's about a 40-mile-per-hour wind blowing under the truck where he's working. I think he's aware that there's a storm arriving, if it hasn't already arrived. But thankfully, he's there to warn him. Yep, pieces of automobiles blowing up against him because of this. But okay, thanks for the tip. But they managed to just get the truck repaired and operational again. And when I say just, it's because the storm arrives and basically creates Noah's Ark levels of flooding.
Now, did we
in
explain?
Detroit.
Did we talk about? Did we talk about why the world went into chaos after the nuclear explosions? George Papard's telling him, "Well, what happened?" He said, "Well, the Earth is off of its axis.
Oh yes.
All the rockets turned the Earth onto its axis, changed it."
Well, he's telling this to the kid. And the first thing he says, like, "What's an axis?" And then JMV says, "Well, it's basically the middle." And Papard's like, "Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, the middle." So yeah, he's explaining that the axis has been shifted because of all the bombs, and he says we're hoping that it'll naturally return. And the kid is as cynical as it comes. He's like, "Well, no, why don't you just use bombs to fix it? Because things don't fix themselves." I have a hard time arguing against that. It's like I think the kid's got a point here. But even if the Earth is off its axis, can you explain to me how Detroit becomes flooded in this fashion?
No,
I don't mean like
it's got to be the Great Lakes.
I'm not talking like there's puddles. I'm not talking like up to the level of car windows or something. We're talking 40 feet or more of water. Because I'm like, they show slow-mo of waves crashing in and everything else, and the Landmaster is pitching and throwing on the waves, and then it sinks for.
Well, they had to show off its water capabilities because they did say it was amphibious.
You have to assume. Where did this all come from? I don't think the Great Lakes even have that much water to supply for this.
Well, that's because you're not factoring the axis shift.
You're right, I'm not.
You got to factor in the axis shift.
So just go with it, folks. Detroit's now 40 feet underwater. So eventually the Landmaster rights itself and rises gradually to the surface again. And then we see the Landmaster is actually a watermaster.
And the wheels are just turning. It can't be going very fast, right?
Not really, but it's like we said, each of the axle bases has the 3 tires and those rotate. Well, now they're all rotating full scale. So it's like 4 paddle wheels on this thing. It probably can get a little bit of going. You may not be able to water ski behind it, but I think you're going to make progress. And by the way, they had to build a second one for this because in that video, the designer, he said, yeah, the original one weighed so many tons, there was no way it would float. So they had to mock up a second one on the quick. It's basically just chassis with the wheels and a shell, so it would float enough to shoot these scenes. So, yeah, basically we're looking at the Landmaster on what would be one of the Great Lakes. I mean, it's Michigan, Ohio, all of the gone underwater, and we're now chugging along on this thing.
Supposedly, it was a mega tsunami.
It would have to be
an inland mega tsunami on a lake.
Okay, Radiation. What are you going to do? I mean,
Would have washed all the cockroaches out of there, out of Salt Lake.
and there's some kind of recognition that they're saying now the Earth has in fact returned to its axis. It just worked by itself. There you go, fixed it.
That's what he says. He goes, well, how's he going to fix it? He goes, well, hopefully the Earth just can fix itself.
Right.
What?
And Jackie Earl Haley was looking at him, was like, bull crap, ain't gonna happen. Well, it did. So eventually they do find land, I guess, and they're all camping out kind of in cool fashion. They're just like they're just out there. So the girl's doing her thing, the kid's out in the lake swimming. JMV is working on the motorcycle, and Papard's got a radio set up with a television antenna, of course, and doing his thing. And all of a sudden they hear something come across the radio, and it's not the repeated recording that they heard previously. So some woman is broadcasting. She's like, from now on at 12 o'clock, we're going to be announcing what's going on, news, weather on the fives. And they're all getting excited and start racing over to the radio now to listen. He's able to also communicate like it's a two-way radio with the DJ.
And it's a tackle box. It's a tackle. Their prop was a tackle box. It was a green tackle box with the. They didn't even take the hinge off. They just stuck another piece of equipment on the side of it, turned it into a radio.
Yeah, it's like we'll put a speaker on that Plano.
And he had a TV antenna just stuck into the ground.
Yeah, it was definitely a television aerial. But okay, so they all get excited, and he's like, "Hey, can you hear us? We want to find you." And she's like, "Well, who the hell's this?" No, she wasn't that mean, but it was, And he explained, "I'm with the military. I'm a commander. I got this guy. I got a woman. I got a kid." And she's like, "Okay, we got society here or something." And says to her, "Can you locate where we are?"
And she goes, "Yeah, I got your reading coming up here." You're like, "What?"
On a radio. She's like, "Well, yeah, you're broadcasting here. We're 18 clicks away or something or other." and they figure out, that way. Like, I don't know. She said, "We're like 180 degrees from where you're at, about 20 miles away." And he's like, "All right, I'll do a reverse heading of 360. Jan Michael Vincent's like, "Yeah, you guys do that. I'm getting on my motorcycle and I'm going there."
Yeah, I'm just going to start riding. Come on, Billy, get on my motorcycle shirtless and let's go.
And he does this while they're trying to talk on the radio. So he's revving his engine while Papard is on the mic. And it was like, dude, can you just 5 minutes? Wait, no, I got to beat cheeks and get out of here. And finally he cuts out, and George Papard I guess this is again where we're missing all the animosity, but he's like, "All right, one of our guys is showing up, but hey, don't hold it against us. He doesn't represent everybody."
Yeah, and that's never played. They've never brought to fruition. They don't go anywhere else with that.
It's like, you guys got along the whole trip.
The end of the movie is like 45 seconds away from that line, and it just shows them on the motorcycle pulling up to like all these people coming out from Albany farmland and cheering them on as they drive up. They don't know these people from Adam. These could have been more mountain men. They don't know.
And the thing that's funny is he pulls away on the motorcycle from their spot. He's got no bearing, no heading, no compass, nothing. He's just boom. And he comes up to a highway, and I just had to laugh. Understand, we're in desolation here. People don't exist anymore. He looks over his shoulder 4 times before he changes lanes in case there's traffic. No, but now he's on a road and it's winding. He's cutting curves and all this stuff. He's like, "How do you know where the hell you're going?" And boom, he shows up. A couple people greet him on the road, and then a swarm comes out of the landscape to all greet them in hero fashion. Slow motion hero finale, I suppose you want to call it. They made it to Albany, and that's the movie.
I guess.
Like
that's such a weird ending, even for the 70s.
I mean, so you got to Albany. What then? Or, what did you accomplish outside of there's people? Okay, I guess. Like Albany has been unaffected. There's no floods. There's no radiation.
The roads look nice and the grass is cut.
Yeah. They had trees. They had roads, fences.
Everybody
everything
looks like they're dressed and bathed.
I guess Albany was about the largest city that would not be targeted in a nuclear blast. So is that what we're going with? And also can evade cataclysmic flooding that took place a few hundred miles down the map. I'm really trying to go with the logic here. I'm trying to follow their rationale. It's just not working for me. I'm sorry. If Detroit's underwater, relatively certain Albany would be affected. They're pretty close to one of the Great Lakes too over there, but maybe not.
I guess not.
I got to check elevation levels.
And they don't give you a chance to even fully understand or realize it. Like, it would almost be better had they had just let them show up and pull into Albany, and it'd be a completely big ghost town. Like, like nobody there. And then as they get out of the vehicle, people start to slowly come out of the different homes and houses to greet them. And that's when they realize that they're safe and that they've made it to their destination. So you're talking about, okay, that makes sense now. Instead of, hey, just right off where we're, it didn't. The ending didn't make sense at all.
I still don't know why Albany was a target, because it wasn't until they were almost there that this new radio transmission came up. So you were still chasing a recording this whole time. When JMV rides in, the only communication they ever had with anybody in Albany just took place a couple minutes ago. So there would be no reason for this heroic welcome. Like, you finally made it after all this time. It's like, no, who the hell are you? The only person that would know they were coming was the woman on the radio. So we get this hero's welcome for no damn reason. We're in Albany for no damn reason. And everybody in Albany has survived perfectly for no damn reason.
There doesn't need to be a reason.
I'm just happy they made it across this cataclysmic, post-apocalyptic, radioactive landscape. I'm going with a happy ending here.
Yeah, I suppose. I guess that's what they wanted to do.
So all I can say is this: the Landmaster was pretty badass.
It was super cool.
There you go.
My son's looking for a new car. If he had that, I wouldn't be mad.
You would if he was using your gas credit card.
Either that or the Monkey Mobile.
Ooh, yeah. Now you're onto something. Of course, that would probably, the insurance on that thing. Holy crap. Just saying.
In Florida? Absolutely.
But yeah, that's our movie. We had World War III. Playboy magazines blew up a military facility. They got two badass trucks out of the motor pool. They crashed one, and they made it to Albany.
Done. What else are you looking for?
It sounds like an elevator's pitch, and that was actually the script. I want to see the director's cut with the other 40 minutes of material that they got rid of, because something tells me there's another movie in there somewhere.
44 minutes is an entire TV show episode.
Yeah, I mean, that's a significant drop in content right there. You basically got rid of 1/3 to 1/2 of your film almost. It seems significant to me, especially given a movie that didn't have a lot of significance. World blows up. We drive through the wasteland. I think you got room for more materials, all I'm saying. But I'll say this, still kind of a cool movie to watch. Just for the vehicle alone.
I mean, it's not as good as Knight Rider or the A-Team or even the Monkey Mobile. It's not as good as the Pink Panthers car. You've seen that, right? You've seen the Pink Panthers car?
You're starting to offend me here. Come on, Landmaster was pretty badass.
I don't know if it's as good as the Time Cops car.
Oh, that was just a sled.
You know, what we should do is have like one of those things where you rate the different vehicles against each other. And so you'd have to put the Landmaster up against, say, the trucks from Monster Truck.
You want a movie vehicle bracket?
A movie vehicle bracket, yes.
We could probably concoct that. It would take a little time to put it together, but I think I could probably tell you at least what would make the final four, and that would have Batman's Tumbler.
Batman's Tumbler versus Grandpa's Dragula.
Well, see, now you're just going for sentimentality.
Have you not seen the Dragula?
Oh, yeah, I have.
I think it's awesome. It's a casket with pipes on it.
I think Paul Revere and the Raiders had something similar too. It was like a glass casket coffin, and they made it into a hot rod. The real wheels were all souped up and all that from the 60s and 70s. Yeah.
And it has to be a vehicle that is not exist in the real world. So you couldn't take like the Dodge Challenger from Fast and the Furious or any of the cars from Fast and the Furious. But you could include the submarine from Fast and the Furious.
Well, now, yeah, I don't know if that would.
Or the Pontiac Fiero. You can include the Pontiac Fiero that gets shot into space from Fast and the Furious. That could be included.
Why would that be included? Because that was an actual vehicle.
What is it? No, they modified it to go into space.
Oh, so almost like
James
James Bond Lotus that went underwater.
It has a stick shift, and Tyrese is steering it. He's like moving the wheel in space, like that's somehow like it's a jet ski, like the front wheels have started it. That's what we need to do. How many teams are in the? Does it start with 64 and move its way down during March Madness?
Yeah, they may have even expanded it now to 66 or 6 because they have like a play-in where a couple of scraggle teams play each other for the final spots. That kind of.
I bet you we could find 64 outrageous movie vehicles and work our way down through them.
Could happen. I kind of like the Bat Pod too. That big fat tire motorcycle. That was a cool one.
That thing's pretty sweet.
But
if I put it up against the A-Team van, what you going to do? Lose. That's what you're going to do. You're going to lose.
Yeah, but again, that's a real world. That was just a van with cool tires.
Or the Coyote from Hardcastle McCormick. You know what I'm talking about, right?
You're stretching, but yeah, I think that'd probably be an early round exit right there. Maybe. I think the Tumbler would have to be a number 1 seed.
It was a Coyote X. It was a custom built sports car. So you could use it.
And then you got Dr. Frankenstein's from Death Race. Yeah, I mean, you could have some fun with this. I could see that. Well, all right, that would be Damnation Alley. I'm going to say check it out. It's just cool to watch this vehicle thunder through the landscape. As long as you don't think too much. And hey, as I think we prove each and every episode, thinking in our movies is not the good thing to do to enjoy them. That's our job.
Doof wagon. The Doof wagon, the speaker truck from Mad Max Fury Road. The Doof wagon. That's what it's called. It's called the Doof wagon.
I think Paul's not going to sleep tonight.
I'm going to be looking for. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's got flamethrowers on it and giant speakers. It's called the Doof wagon.
Oh yeah. And you need someone playing the guitar on it.
Heck
Yep.
yeah, son. I mean, that's Elite Eight
Paul's going down a rabbit hole in bed tonight. I'm sure of it.
for reals.
Phone's going to be going off at 2 a.m. Hey, what about this one? Mhm. All right. Well, Paul, then why don't you tell people where they can find more of your content?
ScreenRant.com. I got some older stuff still floating around there that's not very political if you want to read your entertainment news without politics. And Twitter. Occasionally I'll throw something on there about me fishing at the moment. Or board games. Maybe you like board games.
You got to sell this a little harder, but okay.
I like board games.
He's at Movie Paul. That's where you'll find him.
You got to search for it. I like people to work for it. It feels better when you work for it when you
Now
get
that
to
you're
the end.
cultivating mystery, is that what you're doing?
Correct.
All right. As for myself, you can see me daily over at townhall.com. I've got a media column there. It's called Rift from the Headlines, also on the front page of Red State, where I've also got a twice weekly podcast there. It's called Liable Sources, covering more of the mayhem in the outmoded media. And you can hear more of me here at KLRN next Thursday. It's going to be me and Ordy Packard going through the vital entertainment information on the culture shift. And every Tuesday, I'm here at 8:30 with the ever effervescent Aggie Regan on the Cocktail Lounge, where we discuss all types of cultural, entertainment, sports, and frivolous items just to distract you and entertain you away from the mayhem. And if you need more of me than that, let's face it, you do. If you head over to Shitter, I am at Martini Shark. All right. Paul and I now, we've got 2 weeks in front of us to come up with another gem to just belch out in front of you for your entertainment purposes. Here at Disasters in the Making.
Purple coffin.